Welcome to The Investor, a podcast where I, Joel Palafinkel, your host, dives deep into the minds of the world's most influential institutional investors. In each episode, we sit down with an investor to hear about their journeys and how global markets are driving capital allocation. So join us on this journey as we explore these insights. Okay, we're live with one of my really good friends, Chee-We. He runs Oakseed Ventures. I've gotten to know him over the last, close to 6-7 months now. Met him in San Francisco, and we've been just kind of community building, building a friendship ever since. But just really interesting background. He comes from a, strong technology background, and then kind of later on pivoted into investing. So Chee-We, excited to learn, much deeper biography of you and kind of the legacy that you've built in kind of technology and, how you've really evolved as a professional, now becoming an institutional investor. So welcome to the show. Thanks for your time and appreciate you, sharing your knowledge today.
Yeah, pleased to meet you all, and really thank Joel for the opportunity, and very excited to be chatting with everyone today.
Yeah, well, excited. So let's kick this off, Chee-We. So let's tell everybody who Chee-We is. Tell us a little more. I know you're from Singapore, so tell me a little more about your early life, your career, your education, what you maybe thought you would pursue in your career, and how you landed here.
Sure. So born bred from Singapore. I was a very geeky kid growing up. Learned how to program the computer, see, programming, assembly. And, in my teenage days, I started writing computer viruses. And then because of my geekiness, I got to my dream school, which was at MIT.
Can we stop there for a second? So you kind of glazed over writing computer viruses. So tell me a little more about that. I mean, did you get in trouble? I mean, what made you think to create a computer virus? And there's got to be a little more to that story.
Well, sure. So the long version of the story was complexes were a big problem back then. It still is somewhat. And I actually created a computer virus to prevent computer viruses from doing the bad stuff. So it's actually a good computer virus. I named it the interferon, actually. So that's a terminology from biology, which is that cells have interferon to indicate that it's been infected, and that the white blood cells should come and clean it up. And so when I was little, I was like, oh, what are these things called computer viruses that could just infect the computer system, and they spread by when you take a floppy drive from one computer to another, and you could buy virus scanners and all that. They have to be updated, and then I was curious if I could create a computer virus that could actually protect computer programs from infected again. So that's what I did.
Okay. So it was actually almost like antivirus, and you were already kind of dipping your toes into cybersecurity, kind of in a for good way.
Right.
Cool.
Yes.
Great.
That was my first foray into cybersecurity. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like sometimes when you have to, I feel like part of the prevention is creating the virus first to kind of understand how to prevent it, I believe, right?
That's right. So as part of creating the virus, I had to study and understand how viruses were created. how they were spread and how they actually modify executables in such a way that the virus code is run and then replicate, right? And so that's what I did as a teenager, taking apart these things and reading about it and then eventually creating one myself.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So fast forward, as I mentioned, I got into my dream school, MIT, studied electrical and computer science, and then I took a scholarship from the Singapore government, and so we all have to go home and serve the nation, and so right out of college, I actually dropped out of the PhD program, which I had gotten into with a master's degree. I went home. And I was assigned to build classified encryptors for the Singapore government. So that was my real first professional foray into cybersecurity.
So was that a government job it was like a civil servant job for the government?
No, so this was with a company called Singapore Technologies. And this is one of the, we called it government-linked company. Under the sovereign wealth fund Temasek. So Singapore Technologies engineering, actually in particular, are companies together with Singapore Airlines, DBS Bank, Capital Land, and we were into also semiconductors like Chartered Semiconductor and so forth, just to name a few names.
Yeah. And what was going on in your head when you initially wanted to do the PhD? I guess what made you kind of maybe switch gears? Was it just kind of the time it takes to do it, or kind of like the focus area?
No, I was a good student at MIT, and so applied for the PhD program and took the qualifying exams. Wrote a master's thesis, but the Singapore government, time's up, you need to come home, and so I came home.
Sure, yeah, you got to jump on the opportunity when you get it.
Yeah, no, we actually do have an obligation to serve.
Got it. Interesting. I didn't know that. So it's kind of similar to the Israeli. It's kind of similar to like the Israeli government. You have to kind of serve some time, as an obligation. So how many years do you have to serve? A couple of years?
6 years.
6 years. Okay, got
6.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Long time.
Yeah.
And then so when I was done, I then saw my career pivoting more towards the business side of things. So I was doing business development. I was working with cybersecurity startups, integrating our solutions together with some of the innovations that's happening in cybersecurity. Also working with companies like RSA and so forth. Schlumberger, SEMA, which back then had a smart card company that's all merged into Gemalto. I then decided that it's time to learn some business. So I got my MBA from Harvard Business School, and then switched entirely over to being first a McKinsey consultant, then subsequently being part of the corporate venture team at Cisco, doing investments in tech. So this was a time that Cisco, our last CEO, John Chambers, wanted very much to transform Cisco from a hardware company to a software company, from a networking company into what he called an IT, or he said the number one IT company. and we were investing in essentially the whole stack of information technology outside of computer networking. This is a time where internet scale technologies, from NoSQL, NewSQL, databases, big data when it was a term.
Yeah, people don't say big data. Yeah, people don't say big data anymore. That was like a 2014 term, right?
Exactly. Pre-AI, but or pre-modern AI, if you will. And those are areas that we're investing. And then fast forward, it was there I met my partner Brett Hartman, who was the CTO of the Cisco security business, and we started Oakseed Ventures to basically focus on AI and cybersecurity.
So can we unpack just cybersecurity? I know we've heard a lot in the news and, in all of the buzz about AI. So we'll love to unpack AI too, but cyber, can you just help us understand the categories? I mean, one thing I know that's really important is penetration testing. I feel like that's maybe just a product. But can you just unpack the ecosystem of cyber and how you guys think about it?
Yeah. So the cyber diverse because everything in the digital world can be hacked and needs protection, and it's also an industry that has evolved over the years, right? So it goes all the way back to as I mentioned earlier, computer viruses, and the industry has grown in a huge way since, right? So at Cisco, we started a business doing firewalls, and network security was a big thing. What used to be called perimeter defense. If you have a corporate and you have your own data center, or you have your own corporate infrastructure, protect it from outsiders by having strong perimeter defense, right? Over the years, that has obviously, thanks to cloud, mobile, right, BYOD, and so the last 15 years, you see the whole entire transition from perimeter-based defense into what's called zero trust, and firewall and cloud. That's why you see the huge number of new security cloud companies, from Palo Alto Networks to CrowdStrike and so forth. Meanwhile, endpoints are a thing to always protect. One of the big transitions that has happened and is still happening is that software is created at a very, very fast clip, updated, patched. Unfortunately, more bugs get created, and now you have highly motivated hackers that, quite frankly, I mean, all the NSA equivalents around the world have a huge depository of what we call 0 days, which are vulnerabilities in softwares, everything across the operating system to, networking equipment and what have you, that they themselves know that exist. They've actually found themselves. And think of them as essentially skeleton keys that can come to your home and just unlock the locks that you have, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
And the truth is, the entire digital world, the internet, the backbone of the internet, the C programming language is written in such a vulnerable way because when it was created for for a purpose without thinking about all the security ramifications. And and then unfortunately, clever people do spend a lot of time exploiting the loopholes and the situations where software has not anticipated a certain input of and so forth, and that's how vulnerabilities happen, right? And the problem now is that you have open source, you have nobody writes code from scratch anymore, and then code's written in sprints, and so everybody's under pressure to churn out code, updates to apps, updates here and there, and more code get created, and more codes get more bugs get created. And so back to your question, the whole landscape, how do you unpack that? I mean, because of this whole evolution of the different trends and forces, you've seen a whole evolution of different cybersecurity companies, as I mentioned, from perimeter, from antivirus to cloud-based security vendors that protect. And today, it's almost a given. It's not a question of if you would experience a breach, but a question of when you would experience a breach, right? And so security is no longer about just protecting; it's about detecting and also response. Right. And so there are companies across the entire spectrum: protect, defend, detect, and response. Right. And then a lot of automation companies, and also companies to manage configurations and so forth. So it's quite frankly, I don't know if I could give you a 1 minute answer to a rather complicated question.
Sure.
But hopefully that gives you a sense of the lay of the land and the complexity.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. And I understand there's a lot more sophistication and complexity to get your head around it. Can you share a little more info on how you guys diligence these companies? Like, what makes, in your mind, a company a great investment, specifically focused on like cyber? Like what are some of the technical advantages that you look for? What's kind of the minimum market size that you're looking for? And then what are the traits of the founder that you've seen that have been consistent when investing in them?
Sure. And this is continuously evolving. But so maybe rewind a little bit. At Oakseed Ventures, we focus on seed stage companies, and our forte is really around picking stealth mode founders, building the next big thing. We are thematic, and so we have a top-down perspective on industry, where the pain points, where are the gaps, essentially. What are the, what are CISOs struggling with, and we can go into some of this later. With that in mind, we look out for teams that are solving these highly technical problems. What we really care about, because at C stage, it's really backing a team and the problem that they are trying to solve, right? And so we look for large pain points, unmet needs, and then we look out for a team that has both the technical and business elements to it, and this is really so that what they do is one of its kind, truly distinctive, and there are huge barriers to entry, right? And in cybersecurity, of course, one thing to be mindful of is it's easy to build small little companies, but truly finding a blue ocean, a huge unmet need, is critically important to establish yourself as a new vendor in a highly complicated space where CISOs are always under pressure of budget, They rather deal with the resolved a pain point is very, very important.
Yeah, that's helpful. And then when it comes to the founder, what are some characteristics that you've seen of the founders being really successful?
Yeah. So first, of course, it's the general one, which is I always spend time asking founders, why are they doing this startup, right?
Yeah.
What's the motivation? And it tells a lot, right? Because founders have to be highly motivated. Starting a company is one of the most difficult things in life, right? You eat, sleep, dream, everything about a company, right? Everything that can go wrong. And will go wrong.
You also have to, I would say, you
many...
also have to forego instant gratification, right? I mean, you're
Yes.
doing this hoping that there's some result, in the long term, where they could go out and they could go to Google or Microsoft and make
Right.
600 grand a
Yeah.
year. So they're foregoing all of those quick gratifications to hopefully do something bigger in the long term
and more meaningful. So it's
Yeah.
not just the big, right? It is that they are building on their life's passion. This is something that they realize, okay, well, all that experience in their lives can now be used in this way, and it's a big problem. And that's why they're gonna stick to it, right? So that's one, right? Like I think for us it's a big criteria, because there are too many startups, right? And many founders start companies for the wrong reasons, and and that's an important thing, because when times are not rosy, right, when funding is hard, when customers are not getting you the orders, it's really having the right motivation is critical to pushing through. Pivoting companies is necessary. So that's one. Beyond that, there are two things that we really look out for if we were to boil it down. One is the technology bench of a team, right? And unfortunately, I did attend MIT, where I gleefully thought that I learned computer programming when I was middle school, and I said that I learned programming the Apple IIe when they were 4.5. So some of these geeks, I would say, the best geeks around that at MIT, in all the engineering classes, you always have a design problem and this and that, and then you would find these classmates that they've learned programming since young and been playing around. They programming is like toys to them, like that's their enjoyment, and they will always win these competitions, right? And so in many of our teams, we are looking for that spark, that yes, this team is like so passionate about what they do, so serious that they've gotten insights into the areas that they are working on, that it's not someone that has simply gone to MIT or like work at Google can have, right? We're looking for that accumulation of if you will, just know-how in a particular field that I would say maybe even the professors don't have, right? So that's one element, and then the other element is the business sense of things, right? Here we realize that many of our founders are highly technical in nature, but you've got to have some sense. And maybe it's the CTO is highly technical, but he has a classmate who's the CEO, or somewhat, and it's that savviness. It's the sense of, okay, these are big markets. This is what the customer pain point is. This is what they would buy. But there is also a huge part about learning as you go, and so the soft skills are important. The ability to listen, and this is what we watch out for when we have a conversation with founders, right? So investing in startups is not simply, okay, you come along with a elevator pitch and pitch me, and then I'm excited about the big hairy audacious goal or this huge opportunity and this mission statement, and I'm impressed by the credentials of the team. But actually spending time with the team and checking out that they have some of these motivational, technical, but also soft skills to be able to have a conversation with you, to win customers' confidence and trust. And in cybersecurity, in particular, trust is very important.
Sure.
You're selling to a bunch of CISOs who are highly skeptical, highly worried, highly paranoid, and always sniffing out what could go wrong. And so if you oversell anything, you could be gone the next day. They won't ever talk to you again, because if they bought something from you, they depend on you for your livelihood, right? And so those are important soft skills to test for.
So you pivoted from a engineer's engineer, right, a technical person, to a business person, becoming venture capitalist. You also did some corporate VC. So what advice would you give to people that are looking to kind of maybe pivot their career? They work in real estate or tech or consulting or product, and now they want to try to switch into VC or private equity. What are some things that helped you be a good candidate to land some of these corporate venture capital jobs?
Yeah. So I would say the two things. One is first, being very self-aware of what you really enjoy and not enjoy, and oftentimes with enjoyment, it's probably what you enjoy most that you bring the most value to work, right?
Sure.
It's really tough to try to do something that you're not enjoying or not good at, right? So I would say first thing is always self-reflection and figure out, okay, what you do best. Then the second thought I have is really that in real life, and the same for startups as well, you seldom get from A to B in one step.
Yeah.
And so thinking about the intermediate steps important. I remember when I was at Harvard Business School, they have the whole career center, advising students, how to do career changes, and people go to MBA to do career changes. And one of the career advisors said, hey, you want to keep something the same and then make something different, right? And that's how you make changes. You can't say, okay, I'm going to just jump from A to B and then without a transition. And so those are important things to think about, right? So based on where you are right now, what step can you make that leverages the strengths and capabilities that you have, experiences that you have, and then make maybe even a baby step towards where you need to be.
Sure.
And then the third thing I would say is, reflecting on my experience, I would say, relationships are critically important, right? The thing that, Joel, you're doing, like community and all that, that's incredibly important. And incredibly important for transitions that you want to make as well, right? So think about that. Just doing things and getting the experience and building that network that enables you to make those transitions.
Yeah. And I mean, you make a good point. You have to really enjoy what you're doing. I, like you, am a very community type of person. I like friendships. I like to build like multi-year, decade-long friendships. I just enjoy being with good people. Some people don't have any interest in that. Some people just want to be an investor and kind of deploy capital, but they're not the community person. They don't like to host events or do dinners with people. They just want to, look at deals, analyze them, and and deploy. So I think, figuring out what you enjoy doing and leaning into those superpowers, I think, can get you into the industry. So if you think about like Michael Moritz, right? Michael Moritz was he was a really well-known journalist. So, part of the job of investing is writing a really good investment memo, right? So he leaned into that, where like if you have a PhD or you're super technical, maybe deep tech, going into the science, going to university research, that's where you could find your edge. So I totally agree. And then Chee-We, I want to talk about the second chapter, which is like, look, you joined a fund, you worked in the industry, built some experience. What advice would you give to people that want to now kind of build something? They want to launch their own fund. A fund is essentially a startup, right? It's also a business. It's an entrepreneurial endeavor. So what advice would you give to maybe your little brother or little sister? And maybe what are some of the learnings reflecting the last couple months?
Yeah, so we are still very much, humbly speaking, along this journey. Sometimes I think starting a fund is even more challenging than starting a company in many ways.
I would say the investor base is much more opaque, right? So you are looking for a much narrower type of investor, where like you can easily go to a startup demo day, and meet a bunch of VCs at the demo day, where I think unless you have a fund manager demo day, which I'm going to have tomorrow, I think it's going to be difficult to figure out who those people are, in just my opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And whereas I think, a startup, even a seed stage startup, sometimes you just need one investor, right? Or maybe two.
Sure.
You can't do that with
I think I lost you for a second, Chee-We. I think you cut out. So I think what you said was you just can't do that with a fund, right? Just having one investor, unless you got a massive anchor LP.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then the other thing is that the work we do, I mean, sure, if you are really good and really lucky, maybe in half a year, you've got market. But the true exits and the true TPI takes years and years and years, right? And the startup, hey, look, you've got revenue hopefully within the year, if not the second year, right? And then you have happy customers, and then from there you can go raise Series A and B and C and so forth, right? So the iterations are shorter. So any advice I have? I mean, one, I think having a niche for us, I think it's incredibly important. I mean, gosh, it's a crowded space for venture capital, right?
Yeah.
And we get all these questions all the time, like, oh yeah, how do you get your deal flow, and how do you stand out? And it really boils down to having a niche. Why you think that will make money for investors, and at the end of the day, I think being value added to founders is critical, right? Because green money is money, and they want somebody who they can trust, someone who's value added, someone who's not just, hey, looking to and write a check. They want someone that they can trust and they can talk to now and then, and that's important. And so that's why we've done the same. We've tried to only focus on things that we know, and that we can be helpful, and that we can bring, like my experience and Brad's experience as the CTO of our security business. His industry expertise, connections, his relationships with CISOs, and then my experience on the data infrastructure side. Our relationships with our channels, our partners. Those are things that I think by staying focused, we can build those critical relationships that we can then provide for our founders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What advice would you give for people that are looking to try to differentiate. So, that's one of the biggest things that we're saying here. So you got the niche. Let's say you have a niche, what else are some ways that, have maybe helped you guys differentiate, or just, maybe some other fund managers that you admire. What do you think they've done to kind of stand out? I mean, if you go to one of these fund manager conferences, sometimes there's like, 200 fund managers there, right? So like, how can
Yeah.
fund managers, and we're learning from a lot of mentors as well, right? You and I, but like, what have you heard to, maybe differentiate
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. So, and some of these, we look at other fund managers and aspire to be more like them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And some of the funds that I've seen are, for instance, mission oriented. Okay, my mission
Yeah.
is to do this, and I've seen them have success with certain family offices, for instance, that are passionate around certain missions,
Mhm.
whether that's let's say education, or that's for instance. So I would say that's one dimension that you could do. I've also seen funds that for instance donate their a portion of the carry interest to charity. Ways that
Sure.
potentially you could find a connection.
Mhm.
The people who've made it, people who are wealthy, and it's not just about money; it's about giving back. So we are trying to that overall into how we work with our investors, and bearing in mind, at the end of the day, just like startups had to find product market fit, we are product too.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the financial product is a package that you're selling to LPs, and they have to be um, solving their needs. A lot of times as an allocator, you have to
Yes.
preserve wealth, and then you also have to generate wealth. And to your point, the example you mentioned, there's a specific example. So there was a fund that I knew that takes a percentage of their carry and donates it to charity. And because they do that, there is a specific institutional LP that only invests in like some type of fund that does charity. So like, that's an innovative model, and I think this manager actually doesn't need the money. This manager had exits in the past, so they're not greedy. They're okay with giving up some of their carry, which essentially is your profit, right? Your compensation. But if you can kind of give up some of that, it definitely gets you across the line. Another thing that I'd be curious to hear your opinion on is GP stakes. So there's some fund managers that have been willing to forego their management fee and also give up some of their carry to get a large anchor investor. The only thing is, you're giving up some of your shares of your business, but in exchange, you get hopefully maybe a big check to, finish your fundraising faster and get to
Yeah.
work. So was wondering
Yeah.
what your opinion is on that, on both sides, and maybe what you're hearing if anybody else has done it.
Yeah. Funny how you asked me this question. I think it's a difficult, happy problem to have for any GP. If someone would write you, half a fund and ask for GP interest and all that, I have heard from some GP, some LPs that I think the key is to structure this in such a way that doesn't get the other LPs nervous. Sometimes other LPs get worried if there has a huge LP that has these GP interests, or certain influence over the GP. But yeah, if a GP has an LP that would write this huge check in exchange for maybe economic rights, but not certain influence and so forth that would scare away the LPs. I think that's a happy problem to have.
I would say like maybe at least revenue share, right? So I mean, maybe not even influence, but it's like, look, you know what? It's because it's a great. I've talked to some large family offices that like it because it's essentially passive income, right? I mean, you're investing in a company, you own shares, especially if this is I know one large LP that does this with people that have left, specific new managers that have left large shops. So someone who left like a Blackstone and, this person has that huge track record and now they're going out and spinning their own, strategy, but they have the network, they have the track record, they have already proven this model out and it just makes sense for the manager to do it themselves versus just get maybe a salary and get like a small bonus every year. Why not just replicate the entire strategy, especially if they're running the whole thing? So like as an LP, it kind of makes sense because it's like, look, you know what? I park my money into this fund. I get recurring, revenue share off of the management fees plus, hopefully the carry, right? But it's just the question is the manager is that too much of a chunk for the manager to be happy with, right? Because it's eating into kind of the compensation that they could have, or also potential, not even compensation, but potential capital to recycle and reinvest into the fund if they want to double down as well. So it's kind of like a trade-off that they got to think about. So, but I was just curious if you heard anything from other managers on entertaining it or just kind of completely not doing it because they're giving up a part of their business.
I think at the end of the day, it's a very personal choice, right? And it's a personal choice between also the partners, right? And and depending on this anchor LP, what the terms are, I would think for some, it's when you're starting out trying to build a firm, right? And you're thinking long term and you want to be in business for 10, 15 years, 20, maybe even 30. Being too short-sighted about near-term economics is probably not something that you want to do, right? Because hey, a venture capital is a long-term business, right? And so you are custodians of wealth for long periods of time. The exits, quite frankly, are very, very far out. And personally, I'm a true believer of making sure everybody gets a fair share and everybody gets wealthy together, right? So, but those are personal choices. Everybody's different in their own circumstance, right? The different potentially personal constraints around needing to pay off mortgage and therefore needing management
needing those extra percentages of carry to be able to cover that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then of course in a partnership it's always complicated. You have multiple partners and everybody could be at a different stage in life and different values and all of that.
So I asked Mary. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was just going to say, I asked Mary Wheeler was on my podcast last week. So she runs Rock Ventures. And at the end of the podcast, I was like, look, what kind of advice do you have for people, building an investment firm? And, it's just like very, very basic, but very profound. She's just like, look, raise and close and raise, pretty much raise and deploy. And then deploy and raise because you want to show activity, and it's just she's like, don't make it too complicated, just close, right? So it's essentially like, in my mind, it's almost like B2B SaaS, right? You're meeting prospects. Maybe the first call is having them understand who you are, what problem you're solving, what area in the market you're providing, and if that allocator has a need to kind of get access to cyber. Or specifically, if they're they're like a corporate like Cisco, there's a vested aligned interest to be able to kind of get some type of access to those kind of deals. Some of those deals could potentially be a strategic investment for the corporate as well. But at the end, having that first meeting, building rapport, and then having them learn maybe in layers more and more about you. And then if they have more interest, then you have to use your abilities to get them to the finish line and have them take that leap, that 7-year leap to work with you and go into business with you. But yeah, that was her feedback, which I totally agree. I think it really, in this ecosystem, there are some of these emerging managers that wrote blogs saying that they talked to like 1,000 LPs before they close their fund. So I was wondering if there's any other pieces of wisdom that you want to share as we kind of wrap up in terms of maybe just your career, being an investor, or just life overall.
I guess, if going back to earlier point that I made earlier would be really understanding why we are on this planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each of us has a different why, and then I think you kind of like maybe tee this question up right in the beginning, because sometimes it takes a long time to figure out what that why is, and we all got distracted by different things. We all get taught by our teachers, our mentors, and maybe what we read, it's not natural. It's a self-discovery process, right? And finding what is critically important, especially in starting something out new. It's really why are you doing this, and why the world needs a new firm, a new startup, a new company. And why do you want to do this?
Yeah, and to your point,
and that takes a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I think based on people looking at both of your LinkedIn profiles and my LinkedIn profiles, you can probably conclude that, it might take a few decades to figure out what your why is. I'm on my third career right now, right? And I think I'm heading in the right way. I think I really enjoy what I do. I mean, this is a dream job for me, but who knows what'll happen? I think as you meet more people, as you get more life experiences, I think you find your calling. And maybe it just adds on to what you're doing, but sometimes it might be a complete career change. So for me, this is like the third time I've switched careers, and but I think all of those things that you developed, or those experiences that you had, kind of form who you are. Kind of makes your unique makeup of what you become to be. And I think there's still exciting journeys ahead to kind of continue discovering and evolving.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
That's
Cool.
that's what makes life interesting.
No, I totally agree. Well, hey, Chee-We, thank you so much for giving us your time. And look, I'm going to see you tomorrow, so we'll hang out with some friends. I think some of the people in the audience will be there too. So excited to catch up. And thanks for all that you do, supporting the community and supporting founders.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Very excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah.